Good evening, everybody. Let's do a roll call to establish quorum, so why don't we just start at one end of the table and say your name and we'll go from there.
Joe Ali, present.
Richard Keyes, present.
Frank Visconti, present.
Erica Jacobson, present.
Amy Crouch, present.
Steve Kenny, present.
We have quorum. We are good, so we will call the meeting to order at 7:04. I know that Vanessa is unable to attend due to a work meeting in Boston tonight. So let's, first thing up is we've got 2 meetings to approve minutes from. There's one from February and one from October. Yeah, we got kind of off in November. We didn't approve it, so it's back. So now we can post it. I have no additions to the February one because I was not here, so. Any edits?
No.
All right,
Motion to approve.
motion to approve both.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay, next up, public comment. To receive oral communications from members of the public may address the Finance Committee for up to 3 minutes. The Finance Committee, under the same as general laws, will not engage in topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes. Seeing no members of the public, we don't have any public comment. I will also share that we have not received any written or email communications since the last meeting. I was made aware that there was a public records request for our meeting minutes, and all of our meeting minutes that are approved are on the website, so we clarified that. And now I will get these 2 posted tomorrow. So that is where we are for public comment. Tracy, Town Administrator's Report. How are things?
It's all about budget. Most of the last couple months have been spent trying to find some balance. So, it's always about that, right? Balance between what services the residents want, what we're able to fund with existing tax revenues, balance between how overrides may impact the annual tax burden and what residents might be willing to pay, balance between funding education adequately and municipal operations. This year, I have to say, in the 15 years I've been here, this has been the most difficult budget that we've faced, and there are so many challenges. We are wrangling with declining residential property growth. Where we used to see between 250 and 500,000 in residential growth, the last couple of years it's been around 70,000. So the decline is pretty significant. There is some subdivision growth on the horizon, so that's good, but for right now it's making things difficult. Rising healthcare costs, increasing material and supply costs. I'm sure you're all seeing these things at home, where we've got increasing lease payments, more and more requests for additional personnel. The police and fire departments, public safety in particular, providing competitive wages has been a priority, because what has happened, and I'm sure you've heard me say it before, is we are indeed a training ground. Newbury has excellent training for public safety officials, and our surrounding communities are benefiting from it because they're here for a couple of years and then they move on to communities with higher paying wages. Again, the new growth, only about 70,000 in residential construction. overall growth in the aggregate is about $950,000. That includes, excise taxes. We're doing short-term rentals now. We're bringing the PEG revenues in-house as a general operating revenue, interest earnings, all those departmental receipts, things like that. But the bottom line is that the cost increases are just outpacing the revenue growth right now.
Tracy, the rental charges,
Mhm.
were those based on property taxes, size of homes, cost of home, or was it just the fee that the town was charging?
For short-term rentals?
Yes.
So right now, the fee is just a flat fee for processing. So if you have a short-term rental, you just have an application fee. But we'll be going, you'll see, once the warrant's complete for the 24th, the meeting on the 24th, you'll see the town's got a proposal for lodging tax. So a local tax for people who operate the short-term rentals, like the Airbnbs or Vrbo's, whatever they call it.
Is that going to be a set fee, or will that be a float?
That'll be a
based on-
percentage.
Percentage
That'll be
of
a
the rental.
percentage of the revenues that come in, yes, yes.
How is lodging tax levied for,
I'm sorry?
how is lodging tax levied for actual lodging establishments already?
It's not, we don't have it. We don't have it at all.
No lodging tax at all?
We don't have a local tax for that right now. That's one of the things we're doing because it's been so difficult to control our expenses because of the costs, the rising costs.
state
We've had to
mandated
look at the
that, huh?
revenue side.
I thought the state mandated that, no?
No,
Lodging
no,
tax?
it's an option. It's a local option.
Wow.
So this would be our opportunity to opt in. And I think it's around 6% of the revenues, up to 6%.
Oh, so
Do you have an
the state sets the number, you just decide whether or not to opt in.
Right.
Do you have an estimate on what it might?
We do not. So what we're trying to do right now, the Building Inspectional Services Department has been engaged, for about the last 3 months. We have a listing from the state of, we've been given a list that's supposed to have all of the short-term rentals on it. But what's happening is we're having to confirm those properties. So we sent out letters to everyone on the list, and a lot of them came back to us as undeliverable. So we had to kind of search, people have moved, changed owners. So we're trying to create a really solid list. A lot of people will call and say, we did that, we don't do that anymore, or, and then what happens is once they've got the list together, they've already started doing the inspections. They have to go out and do, the building inspector and the fire department have to actually go out and do physical inspections. That's part of the application process. Board of Health signs off, Treasurer Collector's Office has to sign off that they're in good standing. Then the permit will be issued at that point in time. So right now the focus is getting a good list.
Does the fee cover those expenses?
Pretty much. Not completely.
What do we do?
Can we increase that flat fee?
What we try
And this
to
would be our job
do-
to say, like, now that we've got a year under our belt.
So this is the beginning, and what we did was we made our fee consistent with Newburyport because they're all on the island. And that could be a problem, so we thought that was a good place to start. And then we'll do some analysis and see exactly what it costs. And it's definitely gonna cost us more to get it up and running this first year. But once the list is good, I think the process will move a lot more smoothly.
Yeah, regardless of whatever that cost is, they're gonna pass it on to the renter anyway.
Of course,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yes.
We're gonna bring back that fire hydrant money, so we should probably not use Newburyport as the bar, we should probably jump that number.
The fire hydrant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's
That would
for
be
sure.
something, if we raise that fee, Newburyport would follow suit. Frank's right.
Perhaps.
I don't understand how any of this is genuinely enforceable. The fee, sure. What are you gonna do? You gonna scan Airbnb listings? You gonna?
No, we don't scan the Airbnb, we get the list from the state, from the income taxes, from the property taxes.
Right, but How many people do you think actually show up on the rolls?
We'll let you know.
Yeah.
We have a list right now of about 176,
Yeah.
so, you know, whether that all
Of people that
shifts.
have ever essentially rented their place out.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're trying to exhaust every possibility of raising revenue. that we
Revenue.
can. It may be marginal, you know,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
just 50 grand, I don't know, but,
The stakes are high to fly into that radar, that's why I asked.
Right.
I mean, because then you gotta report it to your
Agreed.
insurer, then you gotta, you've got the fee, you've got the tax, you've got your insurer, you've got a whole different liabilities. that,
agreed. Yep,
It's not something that I would be interested in.
No. no.
Because I don't think they command those kind of rentals to really accommodate all of that, you know, in terms of the numbers.
You
Maybe.
do go through when you've got nothing to do and start looking at the nightly prices on Plum Island.
I think they'll
Pretty
Yeah.
surprising, especially in the summer.
And then it's weekly also. I know
Sure.
that the house on our, the beach house right next to us, it's 4th of July was a double
Oh, yeah.
for that week.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Did you mention, Tracy, does Newburyport already charge a lodging tax?
I don't
on
know
their
if they
end?
have a lodging tax. I think they're a couple years ahead of us, so my guess is they probably
They may.
do.
I'm guessing,
Yeah,
because they also
I can
had
certainly
more,
ask them.
there's more properties that are lodging as well. Like they do have some that are like inns and everything like that as well. It's not just the short-term rentals.
Right, it's not just Plum Island.
Right, it's not just
Right.
Plum Island, it's
Right.
the like Garrison Inn and the
Essex.
Essex
Essex Street.
Street and, yeah, some other smaller ones, but. they
Combined
do
state and
have-
local for Newburyport's 11.7%, so that means if the state's getting 6 points, then they got another 5.7 on top.
Yep, yep. So, yeah, so this year, some of the significant cost drivers, if you will, is, you probably remember hearing about the SAFER grant, so that was a federal grant that the town received that allowed us to hire 2 additional full-time firefighters. It's a great program, it helps you get started. They will pay the cost of all of the wages and benefits for the first 3 years, and then lo and behold, at the end of the 3rd year, fiscal 2027, you pick up the cost of those firefighters. So that's about $115,000 hit to our operating budget.
Plus pennies, or is that including?
Plus pennies, yeah, no, we paid all.
So what do you guys calculate pennies at, another 30 points?
Yeah, 25.
25?
24, 25, yep, yep, yep. So Newbury received about a little over $2 million in ARPA funds after COVID. We enjoyed it, we did a lot with it. One of the things that we used it for was paying for the lease expense of the Council on Aging Senior Center downstairs. In fiscal year 2027, that will be coming to an end, and the town will pick up half of the cost, which is about $47,000. And then in 2028, we'll be paying the whole cost, of the lease, which escalates about 3% annually. Public safety increases are up over 8% this year. Education funding is up about a little over 690,000.
That's between the three,
The
three-year.
The 3 schools. Insurance premiums are up 6.3%, and benefits as a whole are increasing 5.5%. So, we went through some of these conversations at the select board level, and I asked for a little bit of guidance and direction in terms of whether they wanted to see another override proposal, or if consideration would be given to using one-time revenues to bridge the budget gap. Now, I know what you're all gonna say. So the gap this year was smaller. We made a lot of reductions, and people were very reasonable, so the gap this year was about $250,000. And as you may recall, last year, the residents did vote to reclassify our PEG funds from a special revenue fund to a general operating fund revenue. The balance in that account at the time was 1.196 million. And that was closed out at the end of fiscal year 2025. So that money
Went to free cash.
went to free cash. So the plan now would be to use this, the budget proposal that you'll have for the 24th will include utilizing $250,000 from free cash. I know it is in direct conflict with our financial management policies. I know it is not a best practice. But it seems to make a little bit more sense. You know, Select Board Chair DeMayo reminded us of part of our rationale as we discussed the PEG funds was, you know, perhaps it could help us with education funding over the next couple of years. But I will say, I mean, I know everybody here knows this is kicking the can down the road. It's a short-term stopgap kind of to fund a year, maybe another year if we want to do it. We've got that $1 million there. But at some point, you do have to have the operating budget capacity to pay for it. Like I said, we have some subdivision growth on the horizon, but even with that new growth, that assumes that everything else would stay level, and we all know it's not going to. So we're gonna be, every time we use a one-time reserve to bridge that gap, we're gonna be kind of making the hit later bigger. But it's an opportunity, and I think even Raleigh is talking about doing that for this year, because
Yeah, they're pretty much decided already.
Have they?
Yeah, from the conversation, the tone of the conversation at the DCC meeting, they are pretty much like, we're pulling from free cash. I think they may have, Alicia said that she thought they had done it in the past too,
okay,
with some other times.
yep,
Yes. I think
But-
part of it was last year.
Yeah, I think they
Was
did some
it?
of it
Yeah.
last year,
Yeah.
so, okay, so I
Yeah.
think we,
so
and
it's,
question on that, will that be a separate line item, is that a separate warrant?
it's not gonna be a separate warrant. What you'll see in
Okay.
the I think it's typically Article 4, our omnibus budget.
Mm-hmm.
We list out the departmental functions, how much the budget is, and part of it comes from betterments, part of it comes from raise and appropriate, and then you'd see the 250,000
From
coming
free
from free cash.
Okay.
So we would, in the motion, would spell out where it's coming from. But I think we just have to be very clear, people need to understand what's happening here.
Right.
Is there any other article, like this probably says, is that, I know that one of the things we said was that we could decide what to do with the PEG going forward. Is there any,
No, it just sits in free cash.
it's just gonna sit in free cash
Until the town
until the
residents
town,
decide what to
okay,
appropriate
and there's
for.
no motion on the floor this year to put that money aside into education, like, I'm wondering if there's like, it will give us money into the general fund so it can benefit the whole town. But,
I don't think, no, in answer to your question, no, it hasn't been segregated, and I don't know that the board
Would want
intended
to.
to do something like
Okay.
that. I think it just, it wasn't a commitment that it will all be used for education
Education, right,
funding, but part
exactly.
of the discussion and the conversation was, this might be an opportunity for us to get through a couple of years if we need to tap into it, but, no, there hasn't been any conversation about segregating it separately.
and if we didn't do it using free cash, it would be a 250 override
Correct.
to the voters.
Correct. And the indications from the school administration are that we're gonna see these increases at this level for the future. So you're gonna be faced with a situation where unless you have some significant growth, major subdivisions, or some new revenue stream that none of us have thought of yet. Yeah. Any ideas? I welcome them.
Well, I think it's, yeah, I know, one of the line items it sends out to me is we are spending, $350,000 to lease space every year. That's the operating budget. That's the trickle down effect of we have money in reserve to go again to use towards a town hall project. If we could actually pass a town hall project, we would free up our operating budget.
That's correct.
I was thinking that when you were talking about the Council of Aging and their lease, because I mean, you've got this, got that, fire station. I mean, there's a world of opportunity there.
It is
Opportunity's
right,
a
and we
nice-
did talk,
Opportunity is a nice word.
no, but it was right,
As
we talked about
I see
that.
landmines.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
surrounded by landmines.
We talked about it at the capital planning committee meeting at the last meeting. Chairman Jesperson is gonna be actually going to the select board meeting to talk about it and basically say now's the time we've got to address this. The Council on Aging, the ad hoc committee, did put together a really nice proposal for basically their space needs and kind of next steps, and you'll see on the warrant that there'll be an article for feasibility and conceptual design for that. And what was once considered, at 25 High Road, I think the thought was that that would be remain our civic center complex, for lack of a better term. But I don't know that people are that committed to that location anymore. And we do have a 5-acre parcel over here by the library, and consideration is now being given to that. Maybe we put the town hall and the senior center over on that location. So the conversation's definitely gearing up again. I think you'll hear more about it, but you're absolutely right, Erica, at that level, now you're getting to almost what would be a debt service payment on a
Which would be,
25-year bond for a building project, so.
Yeah, interest rates are not exactly at a great spot right now, so
No.
once again, that $12 million we could have spent 10 years ago, we would have already been halfway through it.
But I think that if you're gonna talk about stopgaps
Yeah.
in one breath, and just when maybe we could go over here, that in my experience is 8 years before you stick a shovel in the ground. When you're talking about we could do this. If you want to talk about stopgaps, then talk about stopgaps from a capital expenditure standpoint, right? Talk about stopgaps from a capital asset standpoint. We got a building that I don't believe the refurb numbers need to be as high as they are, where the Council of Age could go on High Street. That could happen. That building needs to be cleaned up. But realistically, if the complex potentially would go behind it, it's time to stopgap on these big capital projects that we have, right?
It's all we have left, it's facilities,
Yeah.
right? Our
Yeah.
equipment's in good shape,
Yeah.
we've got great asset
We
replacement
can
schedules.
never agree on anything big, so if you
It's-
wanna do it small, do a bunch of little small things, boom, Council on Aging, boom, fix up the firehouse, do whatever you're gonna do. Fine, it is what it is, because no one will ever, and I was not in favor of the last town hall project per se, I thought it was too big and too, whatever, I didn't think it would pass. And, but it's time to stop the bleeding, the rental bleeding, and, we're already engaging in things that we quote-unquote are in direct conflict with our fiscal management, that
Yes, it
are
is.
not good policy. If
Agreed.
we're already on that road,
Agree?
Yeah.
it's time to stop messing around.
We are kind of circling back to, and not to the same degree, but we're going down the path, getting us back to where we were in 2009, 2010, and yeah, that's not the direction you want to go in,
No.
but, I don't know what the appetite is for overrides year after year either, so.
I don't think there's one.
No.
But I think in terms of hope, which
not a plan.
I don't believe it, it's not a plan.
Hope is not a strategy.
And your revenue growth, it's not going to happen, and there is zero reason to think it will.
No, and
If
all.
anything, I think we'll see excises drop, I think
I
we'll
agree.
see, I think we'll see any sort of, thing that's contingent upon consumer spending slow.
Mhm.
And realistically, these numbers will go down.
We're already seeing it, right?
Yeah.
That report, the MMA's Perfect Storm report,
Yep.
everything in there is I mean, I guess maybe there's some comfort in the fact that it's not just us, but everything in there is coming to fruition. And our indicators, our projections, everything, we were talking about this 3 years ago, right? We saw this coming, it's not a surprise to any of us.
We haven't even allotted for a correction in home prices, right? Our home
Nope.
values have skyrocketed, right? And all it would take is a reasonable correction, doesn't take a 2008, a
2008,
reasonable
right.
correction.
Right,
And boom, your revenue's down, because everyone will be in here saying, you got me valued way too high.
right.
Yeah, I mean,
We haven't seen it yet, Frank.
No.
Our
No,
numbers our market
I know,
pricing is
but
very
give it-
strong and
give it
very-
time.
Yeah.
Give it time, I
Right.
just don't,
Sitting.
I just don't see things continuing to happen. And I don't think, I think the idea of going for overrides when you haven't made significant cuts, I think people need to see cuts, see what cuts look like. Shudder to think that's the schools, but elsewhere, say, you know, what do you want us to cut? You want us to not have cops on overnight? You know, do you want us to get rid of the full-time fire people we've put on? They're pretty expensive, 115 plus another 25 points.
Yep,
That's, by the way, like being given a free horse, like that's
of course.
ridiculous, right?
Of
It's like a
course.
free boat.
But I will say, it's something that has been on their agenda for like 12
I know.
years to get the staff
I
in.
know.
So it's not like it was, oh, free money, we'll take it.
I
It
know.
was very planned and structured to
I
do
don't-
it,
But it's just like a free horse.
Yep.
It needs to eat.
No doubt about it.
So, no, I don't think any of this is,
No, and we talked about that too at the select board meeting, so there are all sorts of schools of thought. Back in, I think 2010 or somewhere around there, at the finance committee recommendation in consultation with the select board, when cuts had to be made, it was okay, we'll do it across the board, everyone gets cut 25%. Well, that was catastrophic to
It
public
is.
safety, and I mean, it was just, I wouldn't recommend we take that approach.
Yep.
But the alternative approach, what you would see from, recommendations for best practices from finance offices, associations, and things like that are, okay, your non-essential services go first, right? Well, yeah, that sounds great until you start talking about, okay, we close your library and your council on aging can be shuttered and your recreational program goes away, and then all the lobbying starts. So it's really hard because different parts of your community use different public services, right?
but lobbying brings involvement. I mean, look, we
It does,
got 28 to 32% voter turnout half the time, right?
I know,
So
I know.
all of a sudden, these,
yep, you're right,
part-time lobbyists come out of the woodwork. I mean, maybe the voter numbers go up, and then
Maybe.
maybe you start to think about, well,
Yeah.
what is the value of an override?
yeah, yep,
Because right now, we have, our demographics just don't support, well, we gotta take care of schools, all right, we are a town of empty nesters, so we need a lot of them, right?
right,
It's hard to sell it, and you're not gonna sell it year after year after year.
I agree.
So, unless there are cuts happening to things that people notice, good luck.
Which things are those, though, like what would
Right.
you suggest? I
Right,
mean,
that's what yeah, we're, I don't
Yeah.
know.
And we're operating on budgets expense budgets that really don't increase
Yeah.
Yeah.
each year, for the most
Yeah.
part, they stay level.
No, but it's unfortunate, it's the same thing that everybody's experiencing at home. 6.5 points on healthcare. Oh, geez, 6.5 points, not too bad on healthcare, because everybody else is paying 11 points more.
We had great experience and we did plan design changes, so
Yeah.
we're
Right.
trying to do what's within our control.
And the plans get worse and worse. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
my out-of-pocket medical expenses, my wife married as a teacher, that's like, we can afford this. Like, what happens when you can't afford? $8,000 deductible might as well be 8 million for a lot of people who are on these plans. It's not gonna get paid, it's not gonna
Yeah,
happen.
It's true.
And those, used to be Cadillac benefits, they're not.
They're not anymore,
Uh,
no,
But I don't know anyone who does
No.
have anymore.
no.
So I don't, I think this is a lot more, I think the entirety of the situation is a lot more dire than people are willing to give it credit for. And I think it teeters on the edge of being a disaster in the event of some.
Economic downturn.
It doesn't
Oh,
take a
yeah.
black swan event, it takes correction home prices,
Mhm.
for a couple of years, it takes, whatever it is, you get a problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. No,
So,
no.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we,
at the end of the
everything
year.
you said. And
Yeah.
Matt said it's
I
right.
mean, I think, yeah, yeah, I've got. I don't think, I don't know what the appetite is for an override, but I'm kind of stuck, and this is me, I'm just kind of stuck on this feeling of, we only get people who don't come to town meeting to come to town meeting when education's when it's an education override. The rest of the time, a large number of that contingent take it in I've gotta put kids to bed, we have soccer, we have basketball, we've got, the baseball games run late. That constituency, I wish there was a way to get them there all the time. Because the school's budget is, they made a lot of drastic cuts to get us to that number, and we're gonna be like, okay, we can afford it this year, but next year we're definitely not, and it's not gonna go up by 4% next year, it's gonna go up by 10% next year again, and that's before we know what it's gonna do to us at the, so I don't love the idea of pulling from free cash. I mean, I feel like, so I don't know, that's not my official recommendation. I mean, I'm looking forward to talking to the select board at our joint meeting to really kind of talk about this, and we have a while. We don't actually vote on our recommendations until April 21st. And maybe there's usually we are pretty much of a united front on most of these, but I can see this being one that's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to vote to use something that we've said don't do it. And when we did do it years ago, it got us in a lot of trouble over time. So like I said, I have a lot of thoughts swirling there.
I think we all feel the same way about it.
Stopgaps in general are used when there is a better than reasonable expectation that your revenue portrait is about to change.
Yeah.
And there can be no reasonable expectation that is useless. We talk about subdivision growth, I said this before with the MBTA thing, right?
Mhm.
One child wipes out 4 units. One child in the school wipes out 4 units of taxes, at the very minimum, right? Cost to educate, one child per 4 units, at the very least, maybe 6. 2 kids in 1 unit, 12 units of growth, gone. So subdivision growth, I just don't think there's any reality to it.
That's a good question. If we don't agree on pulling from free cash, that goes override, correct?
No, really the decision to do override or pull from free cash really lies in the hands of the select board and the warrant articles and and they really are the ones that they'll make that final decision. We don't have to vote. We don't have to, we can all make our own decisions on that, whether it comes to that article, whether or not we support it, and we can, but then that means the budget might not pass at town meeting if they see that division, but again, it might just be the time to, at the joint meeting, I think it's a good time for us to kind of talk about it pretty freely. And that's the meeting that's gonna happen on March 24th when we do a joint, when we kind of think about our next upcoming readings, because we want to make sure we know the whole warrant before we vote. So we talk, Tracy usually brings it, to that meeting on the 24th, we all go through it together, we all ask questions at the same time, we try to like get as much information as possible. And then on the 7th, what we would do is that our group would meet. We could go through the warrant and discuss things. We don't vote on it, but we can just kind of like ask more questions of Tracy, kind of think about what we know from capital planning or DCC. And then it's after the select board signs the warrants, once that's in final, then we do a vote the following week where we go through our rationales, and we can disagree. We've disagreed before, and we can say things like the finance committee vote was, 4 in favor, 3 opposed, 0 abstain, and it's okay. It's, but yeah, the decision about an override really does live, like, that decision lives in the select board.
And it's probably a reasonable expectation that if we have an educated populace that understands that the difference between this override vote is under an override or pulling from free cash, then realistically, I would expect that would sound the death knell for the override, because
Right, you have another opportunity.
there's
Yeah.
money that's
there's
not
money
doing
that's
anything
not
for
doing
me,
anything,
Yeah.
right.
and otherwise I gotta reach for my wallet.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Question is, do you probably put it out there under those auspices? Or do you save the override for when there is no more free cash? So.
The negotiations with the teachers union, they're gonna finalize
That's
that
right,
Mhm.
that's right.
Yeah.
for next year.
It's like the difference between a level services budget is at 4.2 million for the schools. And they brought that down to an adjusted reduction of 26.7 full-time equivalents, as well as other things. So the place that's getting cut is like, that's, like, if they had come to us with that 4.2 million, there would be no question, and there was, free cash is not an option, it's override.
Right.
It's 100% override.
Yeah,
Or deep cuts to our budget and an override. It's just how big of an override. There's only, the pool of money is,
so we still use our 50/50 revenue sharing model, if you will. It's,
right,
very simple, but we try to maintain education funding at least 50% of our operating budget.
I was just gonna ask you, where are we now?
We're just about 51% education funding, with this budget proposal.
It's neither here nor there, but I could easily anticipate. Gene always used to talk about, we used to be at 71 points, we used to be at 71, 72 points.
That was all before Prop 2.5.
I understand,
Yeah,
I understand,
that's a
but
different
since
ballgame.
we're practically living in the 70s right now anyway, it would not surprise me that revenue trajectories being what they are, and ultimately, you eventually reach a rock bottom in schools where it's just like, look, that's it,
Yeah.
that ultimately our percentage expenditure towards schools is a much more substantial percentage
Look, I mean,
of operating budget.
those are decisions that the community needs to make, the
Yep,
select board
yep.
in consultation with you guys.
Yep.
You can make those percentages anything that you want them to be. But obviously, with consequences, and,
Yep.
when we started, we had roadways that were a mess, and we had equipment that didn't work, and you didn't have firefighters, and so.
Condemn DPW.
Back to
Yeah.
balance, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
What that balance is, whether it's 50/50 or, I can't weigh in on that, but,
I do kind of love the fact that you come off the nice road and it says, welcome to Newburyport, and we're in Scotland Road, and the road becomes like bump, 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 and then you go down Parker, and right at where it goes from bump, 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 bump to nice road, it's welcome to Newbury.
We got that sign up there
We
now.
both have big signs. I laughed at that sign, I was like, that is awesome.
yeah, and those were things that were priorities
Yeah.
of that board,
Yep.
right?
Right,
The
that-
So
yeah.
the select board set their goals and priorities, and reinstating public safety was a priority, and road improvements was a priority, and we worked really hard to do that, but we had the 50-50 model to allow us to
Yeah.
do that,
And-
so,
Everything goes in cycles.
100%.
Yeah, so like
We've
looking
seen
at
it,
our
right?
total, yeah,
In our adult lifetimes, yeah.
yeah, like our total assessment, looking at the tentative budget, which I think they vote tomorrow night on whether or not this is gonna be the budget they put forth.
They're gonna vote next week.
Oh, they're gonna vote next week?
Next week. So last night, they made a recommendation, since the medical was down a little bit, they
Yes.
could add in the
Music teacher.
music teacher
The
back
concert,
in,
yes.
and like 0.6 or 0.4 of another person. So that was the recommendation, and then committee was, yes, that's what we want to do. So they're gonna vote on it next, I think next Wednesday, next meeting. So
So,
we should know.
yeah, so the total assessment increase for Newbury is $680,820. And if we took roughly the 50% of our new growth number, which is 475, so half of that, we're short 200,000. So that's, that's where our, our model is lacking, but it's what we've kind of held to.
Did that pay
And-
account go up from the 1.2?
I'm sorry?
Did that pay account go up did the pay account?
The PEG.
I mean, it moved into free cash, but what did we
Yes.
get, about 70K a year? From-
No, about 130,
Oh, 30.
yep. But that's declining too. I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
people are choosing
But in
other
theory, if they were
services.
still segregated, you'd have roughly 1.13,
Yep.
or 1.33.
1.33,
In
yeah.
the out-of-pay dollars.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a terrible idea. I think some people voted on moving it to general under the auspices of
Thinking we could.
thinking it would be used for
Used for
education.
education.
And
I
I
do too.
none of that was ever clearly defined, I understand that, but
I
I do
agree
think
with
that was
that.
the general sentiment.
I think Chairman DeMayo brought that up because of that.
I think
He
that
wants to honor that commitment, and, if this is an opportunity where it's not a
Yeah.
significant amount.
No, still got over $1 million worth of pay money,
yeah,
Yep,
if you had to kick in, so.
to cover us for a couple more
Yep.
years.
yeah, because of the, basically,
It
if
just-
we think about it at I'm looking back here, for our certification of free cash at 3.2 million, if 1.96 of that came from PEG, then that's where,
Yep, that's exactly right.
yeah, and it was 2.5 million the previous year, so.
Yep. So it can get us through a few budget cycles, for sure, but at some point, there will be a reckoning.
Right.
You're scratching numbers on the wall in there, aren't you?
Retirement.
You're like a short timer. You're doing the Shawshank thing and then scratching on the wall.
So we're,
Yeah.
I made in the last page of the agendas, there's this town meeting prep schedule that I don't know, I found this in my records, that I apparently started doing this 2 years ago, and it seems to be helpful. It kind of lays out like what meetings we do what at, for everybody to know, and I think, it helps us. I think there's one on here for the 28th, which is tentative. There is a chance I will not be in town for that, so we might be able to get this done at the 21st, depending on how we work this through. But once we see the warrant, then we can think about what the presentation will look like and how that gets put together. Any other previews of the warrant that we should know about at this point? Or are we just waiting for the 24th? I think we should probably best to wait to the 24th and not.
I can, if it's completed before then, I can email you a
Email it,
draft,
okay.
for sure, but, phase 2 of the zoning bylaw is voluminous. So, don't panic when you see the size of it. We've got the conceptual design, that's probably gonna be, I don't want to say controversial, but of interest, maybe is a better way to say it.
Yeah.
Everything else is pretty standard, our revolving account appropriations, we've got a 6 or 7 capital purchases, vehicles, software, renovations, the Morgan Ave Fire Station renovations, the architectural work that we had commissioned. It's about $611,000, and we're getting pushback on that, but it's like, guys, if you don't wanna build a new building, we have
Right,
to.
it's one or the other.
Right.
It's one or the other, so, we can't wait any longer. It's, like you said, Frank, we gotta move it. What else do we have? It's big. Emergency management response vehicle. That's really it, nothing else significant, so. As town meetings go,
Could be.
could be, you know.
You know, it's bad when your kid asks you, when's town meeting? Okay, yeah, I'll still be in town, I can be here for it. And she's not a voting age yet, but she just likes to come now. That's what happens when you bring them from the time that before they can go to school. DCC update, do you wanna give a?
Sure, I'll give a, and you can add in. So we had great representation from the Newbury contingent. We had Bill DeMayo, Alicia Greco. We had Leslie Matthews, Patrick Heffernan. We had our chair of the finance committee, Vanessa, and myself. So on the agenda was our state senator, Senator Tarr, Representative Kasner, and Representative Shan, who oversees Salisbury. And so we got to ask them questions. They did a little talked about what they were doing. Basically, we're not getting any money. This
That's
is bottom line.
the long and the short of it is, yeah, we're not getting any more money. It'll be,
Yes.
yeah, it'll be 3 years of looking at something before there might be a change to the, Chapter 70 funding.
Yes.
So,
They'll come up with a new blue ribbon committee they're gathering information, and we're all going, 85% of the school districts in the state are in the same boat, so how much more information do you need?
they need to build a coalition that
Yes.
would reimburse public transportation, the transportation at 100%. He's like, I get up every year and I make the motion and it doesn't go through, and I'm like, you're the minority leader, can't you rally some
Right?
support?
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, I was a little outspoken.
Yours was mild compared to
Compared to others, yeah, but yeah.
one of the select board members, though, from another town, who was sitting right next to him.
Yes.
So basically, Senator Carr said, the governor's budget is $75 per pupil. We're gonna try and get that increase, because we, the state legislature, come out with the final number, but that's the low number.
He said, because I pointed out that, because I had watched the school committee meeting in which they threw Newbury and Rowley, that we weren't coming to the table in frank and honest discussions, and I did not appreciate that. They also said that we did not want to entertain looking at alternative assessments, of which I have given thousands of hours of alternative assessment
Right.
calculations.
Yes.
So,
13 years.
13 years we've been talking about it. All it does is dividing up the same pie
Mhm.
in different sections, and we can't vote to, people look back, they'll be like, oh, well, we would have paid all this much more over that last 10 years, so why would we want to vote for this? So I just see it as not the solution. But I did say that I thought it was unfair that they said that we don't have, that we didn't come with a number and that Salisbury can, and I said, you're overlooking a very, very different economic setup for the towns. Newbury is not funded like Salisbury is in that same way, and Bruce Tarr said, we should try some economic development in Newbury. I'm like, okay, can we, I literally, I had to bite my tongue to say, we don't have central water and sewer, there's no economic development coming, because there's nobody who.
Bring your company, you can dig a well.
Right?
Yeah,
Right.
so it's that
It's a
fundamental
septic
not
system.
understanding, we're not on the same playing field, that,
Yeah.
if you put it at it, Salisbury has the most commercial,
Right.
Rowley second,
Still
we're
is.
third, and we, like, that's not gonna save us. Like, we don't, so I was a little outspoken,
Yes.
but I believe firmly, like, there's no way we're gonna get a school if we don't have younger members of the public showing up to town meetings, showing up, making their voices heard. I think there was, the school committee meeting, they said to send letters to your select board to tell them you want an override, and then the select board's like, but, you know, we can't, if you only put a budget in front of us that doesn't need an override, why, like, we can't, like, you guys have to set the budget. So there was definitely some back and forth on that too, which was
Right.
mixed messages of, and good discussion back and forth of like, okay, if it's really the 4.2 million is what you really need to educate our kids, why did you already pull it back to, you know, a 2.5? Like, why did you already cut $1 million and 1.7? So it's just a different in the, like, kind of the philosophical, like, do we want the school committee to always give us that high number and let the residents decide whether or not does it really hold up? And so it was interesting.
Yes. Plus, the school committee had gone to Rowley to go look at their numbers. They met with the select board just to see what they had, because they were the first ones to object. That we can't afford that.
Rowley objects, like,
Yes.
they preemptively object in November.
Yes, yes. It's like, okay, school budget, push the button. We can't support it. So some other things from DCC, so that it was a little lively at the
Lively.
meeting last week. But they've, they assigned the program manager, and they're getting the architect and the designers, so they're moving along on the project for either modify the school or build a new one. So, and I know, since I sub there every day now, I see that they've got teachers shadowing the students, and to see what the student goes through each day. So they're taking input from the students, from the teachers, from the staff, and from the parents. So they're not just building a building, they're gonna give them input on what they need in a school. So that's gonna wrap up the end of this month. I talked to Brian Forget, and he said, yeah, at the end of March, we'll put that all together and give it to that team to go off and work on that. So that was the other thing. And then, you know, those positions like the band, so they share the high school, because I've subbed for the band a couple of days. And so he's got middle school and high school. So the music, the course, so he's got middle school and high school. There's a Spanish teacher at middle school and high school. So they're sharing those resources, since the buildings are right next to each other. So they've made a lot of smart decisions there, but they're just right sizing. So I know when I was at the Knock Middle School, when I was subbing there, they had crimson and gold teams, so all the kids had one set of teachers, and that's what's in the middle school. So they're just gonna, since the class sizes have shrunk, that's what they're doing. They're just saying, you're not gonna have these two teams, I'll say blue and white. So we're just gonna have them all together because the number of students has decreased. So they're just right sizing. So.
Let's get back to the house on the prairie down here. Going back to the one-room schoolhouse model.
Or we used to put a roof on it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
ball pay out of the marshes.
Yeah. And then the next DCC meeting is April 30th, right here.
Excellent.
So.
As CPC, I'm guessing we are going to hear a lot at the 24th.
Yes.
We'll see all the results. And I do know that Chair Jesperson reached out to me last week, and I told him that we would love to have a joint meeting with this select board, so I think he's asked to come to that 24th
Yes,
discussion.
yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, so I think that that's gonna be a good kind of, you know, a lot of the, you know, the people in the room that wanna have the conversations. So, I don't have any other new business or old business. Any other questions for Tracy or
Just-
discussions?
Just be
to have?
curious, Tracy, are there any other highlights or lowlights? I know we talked about maybe on snow, just anything to be aware of.
So snow is
Operating
definitely
wise.
gonna be a problem for this year, for
Right, that's
2026.
Yeah.
But in terms of highlights for 2027, the only new money the new programming money that is going to be spent is for the recreation department. They have asked for 15 years for funding, so they're getting $15,000 to allow them to replace the basketballs, the nets, everything that they use over there, so that they have an operating budget. But other than that, that's the only new
There's also
program.
headspace up there.
Software this year is an issue. For some reason, all of our contracts are going up significantly. The assessors that does all the valuation for the town is going up about $7,000, which is a pretty big hit. The
Police and
the
fire.
public safety software, you heard them talk about that. Some of the accounting software may be going away. We might have to face procuring a new product. And unfortunately, fortunately there are great products out there, but a lot of them are much more robust than we need in Little Newbury. So we've had a program that works just perfect for us, but they've been sold and we don't know if they're gonna keep supporting it, so that could be
And in
an issue.
addition, I believe that there's also now yearly subscriptions. which are-
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yep. So that was IT communications, they had talked about that in our capital planning meeting. We also need, the PEG programming that we have, some of the equipment is at its life cycle end. So we're gonna need about $10,000 for that. You see that in under the IT section. There have been a couple of wage increase requests. Those will be considered by HR board. We'll look at those. There were 2 this year. See, elections, it's about a $7,000 increase in elections. It just is purely driven by the number of elections. We'll have a town
Yep.
election, state primary,
Primary.
And then
And
the
general.
and the
and
general
three.
election, so. Let's see what else. We're talking about potentially a consolidation of the harbor master and shellfish constable functions. More to come on that. Try and save some money there. Utilities are up huge this year, up 14% with our municipal buildings, about $24,000. So we're looking into that. Property and casualty and liability insurances are up about $13,000 this year. Let's see, the software for public safety, just the bigger items. Street lighting,
Oh,
one of the larger percentage increases. So it's only about a $4,800 increase, but it's up 25%. You know,
Wow.
nothing there. Our debt's declining again this year, that's just something of note. It sounds great because you think, oh great, debt's going down, then we have levy capacity to support education or DPW, but we don't, because all of our debt service is exclusions, debt exclusion overrides. So when the debt goes away, so does the revenue to support it. And benefits are always a struggle. That's usually where we have some of our biggest increases. Other than that, I mean, it's a relatively small operating budget. There aren't a lot of functions, so it's pretty easy to digest. And if you have any specific questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
thank you.
nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned at 8:03.